Hey, welcome back to another exciting edition of the Shoe and Show. I'm really excited about this episode this week and the episode next week because we're going to bring you in on a conversation that I had at the Library of Congress this year for the Sneaker Day on the Hill on Capitol Hill. The Library of Congress came to us and said, hey, we'd love to have a conversation with some of your key sneaker historians and designers to talk about sneakers' impact on the culture. And the library has, over the summer, these live at the library, and this one's focusing on fashion at the libraries, and it was called Soul Power, Sneaker Culture and the American Story. So Dr. D. Wayne Edwards of Pencil Lewis College and founder of Pencil, former Jordan designer, and Sean Williams, the founder of SOLEcial Studies out of Brooklyn, joined me for this really cool conversation about how sneaker culture is now a part of the broader American culture. And so this is episode 1 of 2, where we break down the conversation. So I hope you enjoy it. So take a look.
Hi there, good evening. My name is Andrew McCarthy Clark. Welcome to the Library of Congress for Soul Power, Sneaker Culture and the American Story, an event in partnership with the Congressional Sneaker Caucus. I have to say you all look fantastic. This is the best shod group. We looked it up. This is a library. We looked it up. Shod is the correct word, S-H-O-D. So use that in your day-to-day life. Tonight's event is part of the Fashion at the Library of Congress, The Threads That Connect Us series. This is the library's special America 250 initiative exploring how fashion tells the American story through creativity, culture, and expression. Tonight's event is sponsored by the Friends of the Library of Congress. You can join the Friends and support programs like this by visiting loc.gov/friends and donate and become a member. It's now my honor to welcome Sneaker Caucus co-chair, Representative Jared Moskowitz, who is an avid sneakerhead, the founder of Sneaker Day, and has brought a culture of sneakers to Capitol Hill that cuts across generations, politics, and backgrounds. Representative Moskowitz.
Well, first let me thank Andrew for helping us put this together. I mean, we're in the Library of Congress talking about sneakers, which is pretty cool. And so thanks, Andrew, for helping make this thing happen. My staff, you were wonderful to work with, so I really, really appreciate it. So I'm going to be quick because I want to move over to the panel. But thank you, everyone, for coming. When I wanted to start a sneaker caucus, which I know I'm in Congress and we're supposed to do serious things, but it was really an idea to try to bring people together, right? To find common ground on things that aren't political and aren't partisan, and get people in a room from different socioeconomic backgrounds and different walks of life, and why do you like that pair? Why do you like this pair? And just have a good time. And when I was running for office, I was with Hakeem Jeffries, and I was meeting him for the first time. And I'm all dressed up. I'm wearing a tie. I'm wearing polished shoes. And Hakeem was in sneakers. And I was like, Mr. Leader, if I could have worn sneakers, I would have worn my sneakers. I love sneakers. I got a sneaker collection. And he's like, fun fact, the House floor, the dress code, you just have to wear closed-toed shoes. You can wear sneakers on the floor. I'm like, no way. You can wear sneakers on the floor? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, is anyone doing it? He's like, absolutely not. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to wear sneakers on the floor. And then I got elected, and I came up here after meeting with him, and I was like, so I'm going to wear the sneakers on the floor thing. We're still good with that? He's like, yeah, good luck with that. He's like, you do you. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do that. And for me, my dad died a month before I was running for office, and I was thinking to myself, good memories I have of just being a kid with my dad, and sneakers were a big deal because I was a huge Michael Jordan fan. Michael was life. I had life-size cardboard cutouts of Michael Jordan in my room. I was just surrounded by 6'6" men in my room. They were all Michael Jordan. Okay, posters and magazines, and every Wheaties box Jordan was on. I was a very lucky kid. My dad made sure, you want Michael Jordan, I will give you everything you want of Michael Jordan. But one of the memories I had is every time Jordan came out with a new pair of shoe, and it's not like it is now. Jordan came out with one pair of shoe a year. It was the Jordans came out. It's you got to go get them. My dad would bring me to the mall. The mall wouldn't be open yet. There'd be a line of kids with their parents at the mall. And then, the mall would open, and, all the kids would run into the Foot Locker and the gates would be down and everyone's dressed like a zebra, in the Foot Locker, and like all the pairs are lined up in the boxes, and you're like, I'm a size 5. They only have 7 pairs. Like what was out is what was out. Like there was no, we got more in the back, or we'll get another shipment, or you can buy it on eBay. Like there was none of that. And my dad would always make sure, like we were there early, we went in line, I got the pair of shoes, and I could go to school the next day and be like, I'm wearing the Jordan 12s, and so that's what it was like personal to me. And so I started doing it. When I started doing it, people were not happy. They were like, who's this kid in the flashy jackets with the wearing Jordans on the floor? Like, what about, decorum? And I was like, well, based on the things people say nowadays, I don't think decorum really matters. And and then they were like, yeah, but what about tradition? And I was like, yeah, that changes. Like, we don't wear powdered wigs in Congress anymore. And I was like, if you look at the staff, all the staff are wearing sneakers. And so, I was doing it, and then I realized it became a total topic of conversation. People would come up to me in the hallway who were visiting the Capitol, right? And they would be like, hey, what pair of shoes is your favorite? Capitol Police would come up to me, and they're like, hey, I'm a sneakerhead. My garage is full of sneakers. Which one's your favorite? And then, how many kids come and visit the Capitol, right? So you go and you talk to a group of kids visiting the Capitol, learning how a bill becomes a law, which it doesn't anymore, but it used to, and it's a great song. But like I would talk to, they want to talk about sneakers, right? And it became exactly what I thought it would become. Now we started the Sneaker Caucus. It's bipartisan. We got 40 members. There's probably 40, 50 members wearing sneakers on the floor at all times. The people who switched and listened to me, they're like, my feet are so much more comfortable walking on this marble and no longer doing it in heels. I'm like, exactly. And I don't know what that's like, but it's probably terrible. And so it's been really great, and I got to partner with the FDRA, and they've been fantastic helping promote this. And I try to teach my kids. I go to like Boys and Girls Clubs thing, and I try to make sure that my kids understand who get new pair of shoes every 3 or 4 months. Like that ain't normal, right? And like we're going to an event and kids are getting free shoes. We're giving free shoes, and it's like, well, why do they need free shoes? It's like, well, because their parents can't go on the sneaker app and buy $150 shoes like your dad can do. Right? And so I try to make them understand, like, you want to brighten a kid's day, go give them a new pair of shoes. And I do Toys for Tots with them in December, and I did an experiment at the last one, and I wanted to see which a kid would pick, right? The toy for Christmas or a new pair of shoes for Christmas. And you'd be surprised. Most of the kids would like, I'll take that pair of shoes over the football or over the toy. And it showed the power of just like, wanting to be part of it, wanting to go to school, wanting to show their friends, like, look at the shoes I got. And so, FDR has been great, and we've been partnering on that. And so it's been a really good thing. And then we get to bring in like these amazing speakers. And I'm going to turn it over to them, and, they can talk all about, what they've been doing and, what they've done in sneaker culture for years. And so I'm gonna introduce them now, and then we can get to the program. So today, celebrating Sneaker Day. This is what my staff wrote. Today, we're celebrating Sneaker Day. I have to read it. I have to be respectful. Okay. We have 3 people who live and breathe this culture. So Matt Priest of FDRA, Dr. D. Wayne Edwards, a legendary designer turning passion into careers. And then Sean Williams of SOLEcial Studies, who's teaching the business and history behind shoes. They show us that sneakers aren't just something we wear, they're culture, business opportunity. That's the energy, and we're proud to bring them to Congress. And so, before I close, I just feel like that's the whole point, right? Like I would never have met these guys or got a chance to talk to them, but that's what sneakers does. Like that's the power of the culture. And I think it's just a fantastic thing. And, when people look back and they're like, what did Moskowitz do in Congress? They'll be like, I don't know, wasn't he the sneaker guy? And I'm good with that. That's fine.
That was amazing. Thank you, Congressman Moskowitz. He's been a great partner for the industry and just bringing awareness about the impact sneakers have had on our culture as we celebrate America's 250th. Thank you to the Library of Congress for availing the space for us. It's the world's largest library, 178 million documents, give or take a few, 7,000 a day, I think Andrew told us. Just so to have the opportunity to come and spend time with you all and three different friends just chatting it up about sneaker culture. It's gonna be fun. So guys, before we kind of dive into the impact sneaker culture has had on the fashion industry in the U.S. and the American story, let's learn more about you two gentlemen, because it's a tale of two coasts, right? You got Inglewood, California. You got give it up.
Inglewood here. Inglewood's here.
And we got Brooklyn, New York. Anyone? It's a little stronger. I feel a little
slightly.
stronger.
But we're on the East Coast, so it's more people.
That's true. That's true.
Home turf.
So, D-Wayne, let's start with you, man. West Coast, Inglewood. Yep. I know what was happening in the '80s in Inglewood because I'm a Laker guy.
Yep.
But talk to us about what about growing up in Inglewood set you on this path to be a part of the American sneaker story.
There's a lot. There's a lot. But I think one area that really sticks out to me when you ask that question was what most people don't know is back in the 80s, the NBA teams didn't have practice facilities. And so the Lakers practice facility was Inglewood High School, the school I went to. And so after school, I had a chance to actually see the Lakers practice every day. And two things happened. Well, more than two, but three things happened, actually. One, I knew I would never play basketball professionally because what they were doing on the same court I was on was different than what I was doing. Two, that's when I started asking players for their sneakers just to get them. And I'm a size 12. No one wore a size 12. I think the smallest was a 14, which was Michael Cooper. But I didn't let that stop me. I would get multiple insoles and stuff them in the shoes so I can wear them. So I started collecting Laker sneakers at that time. And then when Converse came out with the weapons, they came out with the Larry Bird joint, which I can't do that. That's against the everything rules in California. And obviously the Magic colorway. So I remember my suit, when they came out, I told my sister, like, I gotta have these. The game is tonight. I did play basketball in high school, but not like the Lakers though. And so I showed up on the Inglewood court with my green and white uniform in purple and gold Converse weapons.
Of course you did.
I felt like Magic for like about a minute, and then reality kicked in, and like, yeah, I'm not Magic. But I would say my sneaker journey started in Inglewood, customizing sneakers just to match my basketball uniform. Inevitably, actually, ended up painting those shoes too. But yeah, my journey started just a love for sneakers and wanting to be different and have different shoes than everyone else. And for those of you men in the audience, I know you guys do stuff for women. That's happened all the time. So as soon as a woman likes something that you did, you do it more. That was me in sneakers. In high school, soon as a girl liked my customs, I kept customizing everything, even some of the worst shoes ever. I had to just make them different so someone can compliment me on it.
Wow, man, that was deep. There was a lot of ways we could go with that. You did not disappoint. Sean, what women in Brooklyn were you trying to impress with your sneaker collection? Like, what? No, just kidding. Tell me about what was going on in Brooklyn.
Don't lie, man.
On the East Coast.
Well, for me, I'm a child of hip hop.
Yeah,
So,
there you go.
the birthplace of hip hop is New York City. So, being able to come up in an era where I lived in a city where the federal government forgot. So it was a level of improvisation and self-expression, artistically, fashion sense, musically, everything that is a byproduct of the federal government literally saying, drop dead New York. I grew up in that energy. So, today's kids, they have a multitude of brands. We had Pony, Pro-Keds, Puma, Adidas.
White, blue.
White and blue,
black. That's
white
it.
and red, white and black, maybe white and green.
Yep.
So, the rules of hip hop are no biting.
Yeah.
Right? For those old enough in here to know those rules, that means don't do anything like me. Don't dress like I dress. Don't dance like me. Everything has to be your own individual take on it. And because of the economic means being limited, we lived by that. So, of course, being able to learn how to, like D, customize shoes, even things as small as customizing your laces. You know, if we both would have came out here today with the same shoes on, one of us would have had to do something to change them.
Yes.
I would have to change mine. I mean, I think that's
Yes.
how it would. You would force me to change mine.
I would have forced you because you're close to home. Yes, you're absolutely
Right.
right. You'd be driving home, or you'd stop by somewhere and get a pair of laces to swap out. You know, these were like the rules of making sure you maintain daily self-expression in an era where there was a music that wasn't supposed to be here for as long as it's been here. And the very place where we're sitting talking about this in the Library of Congress, this is where, you know, tons of hip-hop related material exists in this building. All right? So,
Crazy.
right.
Can you imagine the storage wars here? Insane.
So I'm a child of that, right? You know, the forced improvisation due to limited means, the rise of hip hop. You know, the 80s, you go into, you know, the universal effects of the crack epidemic. You know, you mix in sports, of course. You know, it's hard being a LA Laker fan, being young growing up in New York, but I did it for a while. I love Magic Johnson and the Showtime Lakers
Magic,
too.
man. Can I tell a quick story? Because I
Please.
told this on your podcast.
Please.
Obsessive sneaker disorder. I had a pair of Jordan 4s, my first Jordans, and I was going up an escalator at Bloomingdale's in Northern Virginia, Tyson's Corner in 1989, and a bolt tore through the sidewall of my Jordan 4. And I loved Magic because he looked like he was always having a good time playing, and Jordan always looked angry. we know who won more championships, but I digress. So the store was like, oh, go buy a new pair of shoes and we'll pay for it. And I said, all right. And this sounds sacrilegious today in 2026, but at the time it wasn't as sacrilegious. I went and bought Converse Weapons, purple and gold colorway, and switched out my Jordan 4s. And the Weapons were iconic for me. But that, to me, that at the time, now people are like, Jordan 4s for Weapons, are you crazy? But no, it's not. It was then for me. That's what it meant to me.
But you know what that represents for me, right, is an individual shoe that you took off and put on a team shoe. That's what I see in that. And, you know, the Converse Weapon was the premier team shoe. You know, the marketing, you know, which a lot of sneaker companies fall short on these days with storytelling and getting you, like, wrapped up into their product. Converse Weapon campaign, that was all across this country. Everybody choose your weapon, right? So you literally, it was almost like gang warfare where you saw someone with the Detroit Pistons color on and you're like, oh, I hate the Pistons.
I hate those guys.
Oh. You saw someone with the Laker colorway and you're like, oh, I don't like Magic and the Lakers. And you know how people felt when they saw those black and white ones from the Boston Celtics. So, you know, that era of sneakers is what we came up in, where there was a unwritten rules and, you know, the unspoken language of communication through our footwear.
Let's take that a little bit further. D.O., we'll start with you. There's a time-space continuum of like BS before sneakers and AS after sneakers. What is that moment from your perspective, Dwayne, of like that drop or that collaboration or that hip-hop song? What's the moment when you think sneaker culture arrived as a broader American culture?
Wow, that's a good one. I can only relate it to me. Where I think it took off for me was the Air Jordan 3. I remember I bought them and I customized them. Where to me, the 3 is still my favorite Jordan of all time, because it broke every traditional basketball shoe rule that you could actually, that's still written to this day. And it made me actually really dive deep into design. But then the cultural piece kicked in with Mars Blackman and She's Gotta Have It and you know, everything that happened during that time, where I think once the culture really kicked in on the cinematic screen, then you start to see that connective thread, because it was already happening on the street, but you never saw it on screen. And so for me, I would say it would be the 3, because that was when I really started to pay attention to design and the designing of product.
Was that 88?
89.
89?
Yeah, 89. The last shoe I drew in high school was the Air Jordan 2. And so I was drawing my own versions of Nikes and Jordans before I got a job doing it for real. But that one, I would say the 2 would be the birth of my creativity, because that was the last shoe I drew in high school, my version of it. And 12 years later, that was my first assignment in Jordan, was to redesign the Air Jordan 2.
Full circle moment for you.
Full circle, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Wow,
awesome.
round of applause for that, y'all.
Full circle. Yeah. I had a lot of full circle moments with Jordan. Like, he won his first chip in Inglewood against the Lakers.
He did. 1991. That was so painful.
Last game I snuck into at the Forum.
4 games to 1.
Yep.
And I bet $5 I was in 7th grade on that game, on that series the Lakers would win, and I did not collect
You
on
bet,
that.
the creator of FanDuel or something?
Yeah, like $5.
I wouldn't be sitting here if I was. What's that moment for you, Sean?
For me, it ties back to hip hop, because the significance of Run DMC's moment is immeasurable. Because if they don't have that moment in Madison Square Garden during the Raising Hell tour, which sort of signified what was already happening on the street, which again, rappers in those days were the CNN of what's going on in the community. As Chuck D said, it was real that way. It was a real reflection of what was happening in the streets, which you go years later and other groups got better and better at it. Then you have groups that made, both positive and negative history on it. NWA, the letter, from the FBI, and, they've always been the journalists of what's happening down on the ground in the street. So Run DMC's moment at Madison Square Garden doesn't happen successfully if when they get to my Adidas, they tell everybody in Madison Square Garden, put your Adidas in the air, and there's only 3 people with sneakers in the air. Right. Doesn't happen.
That's like diving into the audience, and everybody
moves, right. It's like everybody moves. So, the signifying moment of the fact that we as a culture, as people down on the ground in the street, are the ones who are moving and shaking for your brand, is the moment that sort of reshaped everything for what would ultimately become sneaker culture, because we didn't call it that. It wasn't sneaker culture. It was just a part of, for us, it was our daily hip-hop uniform. Sneakers were part of that. And the requirement was you couldn't put on fresh clothes and have dirty sneakers. You just killed your entire outfit. You did nothing, right? So sneakers have always been that very integral part of the self-expression and the daily level of existence. So when Run DMC did what they did, and it just happened to, sort of quantify into what it became, that was the moment where it's like, wait a minute, they're really paying attention to us. Run DMC just signed a deal with Adidas.
The guys from Germany.
Yep.
Now let's unpack that a little bit more, because one thing that we're all well aware of is that Black culture has had a huge impact on sneaker culture. Black culture is American culture, it's American history. And you talked about at our session today on Capitol Hill with members and staff about the Cadillac and the Run DMC. Let's unpack that a little bit, because what is it about Black culture that's been so critically important to the thriving of sneaker culture that then all of us have adopted as a whole society?
I think we can, all of us, especially with the crazy times that we're in now, relate to a space where we feel like we have been taken for granted in some element of what we do, right? And when you talk about the level of impact that Black self-expression, artistic expression, through fashion, through art, through all the various mediums, we're giving away free advertising, we're giving away market data, we're doing all the things that a brand is going to look at and say, wait, that's the thing. We need to actually tap into that. But the work of my soul brother here, realized almost 2 decades ago, wait a minute, where's the opportunity at? What does the future of this industry look like if you keep the gate closed and you age out, but we're on the other side of the gate and we're telling you how much we love this thing, all right? So it's critical to not take advantage of us if you're a brand that makes things for consumption. And a lot of brands make the critical mistake of doing that in multiple ways. Even if they acknowledge the impact of it, they'll story tell wrong, they'll misappropriate, they'll inaccuracies in stories, defective product. There's a lot of ways all kind of brands show that they are just scratching the surface on just want to take advantage of our impact and our influence. And over time that needs to change, and folks are doing things where that needs to change, but that problem still exists.
Dwayne, you got any other takes on that? I mean, as someone who operates the Black Footwear Forum in Detroit, the national event, it's a phenomenal experience.
Yep.
And it really kind of encapsulates the impact Black culture has had on American culture through the sneaker industry. Maybe you can kind of explore that a little bit more as what that impact has been.
For us on the culture, on the industry, or the reverse?
For the Black community's impact on the broader culture that's become American culture now.
Yeah, I mean broadly, if imagine sports with no Black people.
Lame.
Imagine music with no Black people. Imagine fashion with no Black people. Like when you start to remove us from these industries that we built, but yet we don't actually get full credit for our existence of growing them, right? And for me, like the part that impacted me the most is when I started in this industry, I was only the second Black designer in the whole industry. And it took me
You're not that old.
And I'm not that old. And that bothered me because I didn't know that was actually, it didn't bother me until I realized that it was actually true. Like there was nobody else around me. And when I actually got to Nike, I started to see a few more, but just a few more. And I started to understand like, well, wait, like all the athletes are Black. And then the musicians are wearing it, and the hip hop and everything else, right? So it's almost a false narrative that brands project out into the community. They don't do it intentionally, but what they don't realize is they're telling young Black kids that success only happens if you have a ball or a microphone in your hand, because that's what they see, right? And so for me, being on the inside, I'm like, well, I know there's more. And so I felt a sense of I had to do something about it because I wasn't happy with contributing to that narrative by designing the products. And so I just wanted to help kids understand you could do more than just buy product. You can actually design them, you can market them, you could sell them, you could do all these different things. And so
lobby for them. You can lobby for them.
You can lobby for them, yes.
Yes, you can.
And so for me, my contribution to this industry is when I left it. And I remember my recruiting trip to Nike for like I said, I'm from California, right? So I move up to Oregon. If you haven't been to Oregon, it rains sometimes. Except for the day I went for my recruiting trip at Nike. And I'm like, damn, Nike controls the weather too? Like, shit. So it was beautiful outside. But what stuck with me on that day was I was introduced to all these legendary designers, and it was always, hey, this is Wilson Smith, he designed this. Here's Tinker Hatfield, he designed this. Hey, this is Sergio Lozano, he designed this. And I was like, how come they just can't be people? Why is it that you have to connect what they've done to who they are? And when I left the industry, I wrote down 3 things. One was I do not ever want to work with assholes again. 2, I'll never work for money. And 3 is to make people forget I ever designed shoes.
Sorry.
Because if I could do that, that means I'm doing something right on the other side. Right?
2 out of 3 ain't bad.
Yeah.
And so I just knew there was a higher calling for me.
Yeah.
And I'd acted on that higher calling because I just felt like that was what I was blessed to do all that for, was to give it all back. And my way of giving it back and changing the perspective of what's possible is showing them that they can do more than play ball. And I often tell kids I'm the most successful non-athlete in sports. My shoes have been on every NBA floor, every Major League Baseball field, NFL field. Never did soccer or football, in 6 Olympics. And I never got a check as an athlete. But my athletic dreams didn't die. And so with our youth, you have to help them see beyond what they can only see right in front of them and let them know there's opportunities for them to still live their passion. It just may reveal itself a bit differently.
Yep.
That's unbelievable. Yeah, give it up.
Yeah.
All right, so that was the first half of our conversation with Dwayne and Sean. We had a great time, great crowd, and we look forward next week. Make sure you come back by to hear. Scratch that. So that was part 1 of the conversation that I had with Dwayne Edwards and Sean Williams at the Library of Congress. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you join us next week for the second half of our conversation as we break down again how sneaker culture has become so important to the broader American story. And until next time, Shoe and Show is out.
Shoe In has been brought to you by the FDRA, the Footwear Industries Association focused on retail, trade, politics, and fashion, helping create and enhance conversations on all things footwear. For information about FDRA, visit fdra.org.